Somewhere beneath one of the world's most critical shipping lanes, a weapon that no one fully controls is still drifting. Iran laid the mines. Iran lost track of them. And right now, the global economy, every tank of gas, every factory floor, every cargo ship, is hostage to whatever is sitting silently in the dark water at the bottom of the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's daily oil supply moves through a corridor just 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Not a river, not a canal, a choke point. And it is currently laced with explosives that even the people who planted them cannot locate. The conflict that triggered this began in late February, when the United States and Israel launched strikes against Iran. Within days, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps responded with the one asymmetric weapon they had left: small boats, operating quietly at night, dropping mines across the shipping lanes of the Strait of Hormuz. It was cheap, it was fast, and it worked, not by sinking ships, but by stopping them. Commercial insurers pulled coverage. Tanker captains changed course. The strait overnight effectively closed. Oil prices surged past $108 a barrel and kept climbing. From Tokyo to Frankfurt, industrial supply chains began to crack. China's factories slowed their orders. Japan's refineries started drawing down strategic reserves. South Korea's petrochemical sector began hunting for alternative sources. The Cape of Good Hope route, the long way around Africa, adds 10 days of sailing and doubles fuel costs. The Suez Canal was already running at capacity with its own security problems. There was no clean alternative. The strait had to be reopened. But there was a problem no one had anticipated. Iran couldn't find the mines either. US officials confirmed it to the New York Times. Iranian forces had laid mines so quickly across such a broad area that they had lost track of where many of them were. The strong bottom currents of the Persian Gulf had done the rest, dragging the devices miles from their original positions. What had been a planned minefield became something else entirely: an invisible, drifting maze with no map and no owner. That changes the nature of the problem dramatically. A known minefield can be charted, fenced, routed around. An unknown minefield is something else. Every tanker that attempts transit is rolling a calculation it cannot complete. The mine could be here, it could be a mile north. It could have drifted into the shipping lane overnight, and the people who placed it cannot tell you. So when US Central Command announced that the USS Frank E. Peterson and USS Michael Murphy had transited the strait on April 11th, not as mine hunters, but as Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers equipped with the Aegis combat system, the message was deliberate. The United States was not sneaking through. It was walking through with a statement. We are establishing a corridor, and we will hold it. What comes next, the part CENTCOM only described as additional forces including underwater drones, is where the actual clearance begins, and it is more technologically complex than most people realize. The Navy's primary detection asset is the Remus 600, an unmanned underwater vehicle that operates autonomously for up to 24 hours at a time. It carries dual-frequency side-scan sonar that produces high-resolution imagery of the seafloor in total darkness, in murky water, through currents. It can map a square mile of seabed with precision, logging everything it finds: ancient shipwrecks, debris, and the distinct sonar signature of a naval mine. Because it is unmanned, it can operate inside a minefield without risking a single sailor's life. Detection is only the first step. Once a mine-like object is identified, the data is relayed to operators safely outside the threat zone. They confirm the classification, then deploy a neutralization asset, typically the Archerfish, a torpedo-shaped expendable robot about 2 meters long, developed by BAE Systems. It is guided to the target via fiber optic cable, streaming live video back to the operator. When it reaches the mine, it detonates a shaped charge, destroying both itself and the device in a single controlled explosion. Each unit costs tens of thousands of dollars. Each is used exactly once. The Knifefish UUV adds another layer, designed specifically to detect buried mines and mines hidden in high-clutter environments, operating as an off-board sensor while the host ship stays well outside the minefield boundary. And now, threaded through all of it, is artificial intelligence. The Navy awarded a contract worth up to $99.7 million to Domino Data Lab for a platform called Project Ammo, accelerated machine learning for maritime operations. The AI integrates data from side scans, sonar, and visual imaging, monitors detection model performance in real-world conditions, and, critically, dramatically compresses update time. Before this system, adapting a drone's AI to recognize a new type of mine took up to 6 months. With Domino's platform, the same update takes days. None of this is fast enough for the timeline the world economy needs. Former naval officers and analysts speaking to Reuters estimate that clearing the strait could take 2 to 3 weeks at minimum, and that is if everything goes cleanly. It will not all go cleanly. The mine-clearing crews and their drone assets are vulnerable. Iran still possesses shore-deployed anti-ship ballistic missiles and thousands of suicide drones specifically designed to operate in the narrow, shallow waters of the Persian Gulf. The 21-mile width of the strait is practically inside the effective range of those weapons. The Revolutionary Guards have spent years preparing asymmetric doctrine for exactly this scenario: a choke point, a superior naval force constrained by geography, and the ability to threaten it at close range. President Trump escalated further on Sunday, announcing a naval blockade of all maritime traffic entering or exiting Iranian ports, set to take effect April 13th. Any Iranian who fires at us or at peaceful vessels will be blown to hell, he wrote. CENTCOM confirmed it would enforce the blockade impartially against all nations' vessels. Meanwhile, a startup called Ulysses, testing drone systems in San Francisco Bay, was suddenly in talks with the Navy. Their underwater vehicles, built for commercial work like planting seagrass and cutting fishing lines, could be rapidly reconfigured, cost $50,000 per unit, and carry sonar capable of detecting mines within 1,000 feet in dark or murky water. A large fleet could sweep and neutralize at a fraction of the cost of existing military systems. The engineers were confident. The Navy was listening. Here is the thing about a mine you cannot find. It does not stop being a mine. Iran's strategy was built on the assumption that the mere threat of a minefield, even one they no longer controlled, would be sufficient to strangle the strait. And in the short term, it worked. Ships stopped, insurance rates spiked, oil surged, the world noticed, but the weapon they deployed is now their own trap. Iran's oil exports also passed through the Strait of Hormuz. The mines that closed the lanes to supertankers also severed Iran's primary source of income, 1.5 million barrels a day, now largely landlocked. The strategy designed to extort the global economy is now extorting Tehran. Their trump card and their lifeline are the same piece of water, and with each passing week, the world accelerates its search for alternatives, routes that bypass the strait entirely, energy sources that don't depend on it, supply chains that can function without it. The longer the strait stays closed, the less leverage the mines provide, and the more permanently Iran's only real geopolitical card is devalued. Admiral Darrell Caudle, Chief of Naval Operations, described the situation clearly in March. Finding and destroying mines is very time-consuming. That leaves clearance operations vulnerable. He said it plainly, without decoration. The technology is extraordinary, the process is not. Somewhere in the dark water right now, a Remus 600 is mapping the floor. A knifefish is running its sonar through a field of signatures. An Archerfish is waiting to make its one flight. And the most advanced AI mine detection system ever deployed is learning what Iranian mines look like in real time, compressing 6 months of adaptation into a week. The Strait of Hormuz has always been a pressure point, a place where geography concentrates power into a corridor narrow enough to contest. What is different now is the nature of the contest. It is not a battle of fleets. It is a battle of patience, technology, and physics. Robots hunting devices that have lost their owners in water that does not forgive mistakes, while the global economy waits. The mines that Iran cannot find are now the most expensive objects in the world, not because of what they cost to build, but because of what they cost to leave in the water. And the machines going in to find them are getting smarter by the day, not fast enough to erase the weeks of clearing ahead, but fast enough that the next minefield Iran considers laying will face a different calculation, one where the window between deployment and detection is measured not in months, but in days. The strait will reopen. The question is what it costs to get there and who pays.